Running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans. Welcome to Talking in Ovals. How's everybody doing out there on this Thursday, July 27th of 2023? I'm Alex Cuesta. My partner in crime over there is Dave Hyatt. What's going on, brother?
Not much, man. I am just getting a little concerned about Sha'Carri and Sydney and the injuries. Worlds are in 3 weeks or 4, and I don't know. I want to see them run more, and I hope that they are well and doing good. And is there anybody having a better season ever than Faith Kipyegon this year? 407? 407 for a women's mile is absolute insanity. She brought everybody through, and everybody in that race broke a national or set a PB record. Insanity. I'm so pumped for this rest of the actual season. It's going to be amazing.
You know, between Faith Kipyegon and Jakob Ingebrigtsen, we could say we were alive for two of the greatest runners of all time. And that's without me even mentioning Sydney McLaughlin and stuff.
Give me El Garouge, though, every day.
We'll see. We shall see. Jakob Ingebrigtsen has a lot more to go in his career.
326 flat, though, is that's a whole new level.
It's going down. Jakob's taking it down.
And if anybody is listening, that is our guest. He is Jim Lambert. He's a veteran track and field cross-country reporter for New Jersey, and he now covers it for New Jersey MileSplit, and he wanted me to say veteran as well, but we're going to amend that and say legendary, because anyone that ever has run any sort of well in New Jersey just waits to get a write-up by him. Jim, what's going on?
What's going on? First of all, thanks for having me on, you guys. I mean, and what you guys do with this podcast is tremendous for the sport. And when you guys hit me up that you want to have me on, I've had trouble sleeping at night the last couple of nights. I got to tell you, it's just talking NJXC, NJ track and field. I mean, nothing gets my blood pumping more. Especially as the cross country season is just around the corner. It's a perfect time to hype up everything. And I eat, sleep, and drink this stuff. So. Like I said, we'll go at this all night. And if we have to go tomorrow and keep going and have a part 5, 6, whatever, I'm always here to talk about it. And it's my favorite thing to do. So I'm ready to dive in.
I love it. Before we get going, let me do my little shtick that I do at the beginning of usually our shows. If you like, you like what you hear, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Go find us on the socials. Just search it, Talking in Ovals. You'll see us there. And really quickly, last week's show, we had Manasquan High School head cross-country track and field coach Brian Prendergast on the show. It was just such a fun show. He does so many cool things. He has JSF runners where he runs to benefit for a cause. So go back, give it a listen, go support if you can. But let's get back to this week's show. Jim, so you eat, sleep, breathe. You eat, sleep, breathe everything, running, track and field, all that. So we would assume that you were this really good, successful runner in high school, had a solid college career. Tell us how you got to where you are in being the coach, the reporter that you are with track.
Yeah, well, most people assume that because most people who get involved in the sport have a background in it growing up. But for me, the closest I got to a track when I was in high school was during baseball practice, and I'd have to chase a foul ball, over the fence that landed on the track to have, the track coach screaming at me and the guy, throwing a javelin, attacking me because, I hit a ball on his approach,
And there were no rubber tips at that point either. That was
that's right. It was dangerous. It was dangerous. That's what it kept sending me over because I wasn't, a starter on the varsity team. So I was very, very replaceable as a pinch runner. But I was a baseball player my whole life. My dad was a baseball coach. And I, that was all I pretty much did. And then what happened was my senior year in high school, as far as getting involved in writing, I took a journalism class. I always liked writing, and it came pretty easy to me. And I loved sports. Sports was my whole life. I was just a sports junkie, just, reading every stat I can get my hands on, baseball, football, you name it. So I took this journalism class to combine my writing and my love for sports. And after a couple of assignments, my teacher at the time was this woman named Mrs. Oakes, Carol Oakes, and she pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I think you have some real talent here. I'm also the advisor for the school paper called the Fantascotian. We have some openings. Love to have you join the staff. So I'm like, oh, all right, cool. So jumped on the Fantascotian staff, became sports editor. Fast forward, I realized like, hey, I really love this. This is what I want to do. I knew before I graduated high school, I'm going to be a sports writer. So I graduate. I went to Scotch Plains Fanwood High, graduated, went to East Stroudsburg in Pennsylvania.
Me too. I went there my freshman year and then transferred.
So you're too young to be over at Teddy's Tavern with me then.
No, I was not there, but Joe Koch is a great dude.
Oh my gosh. Yep. Bill Koch. And when I was there, little did I know, because Morris County had their winter series. All their meets would be at.
They were at ESU. Yep.
Yep. Long before
on that
Drew.
concrete track. Yep.
That's right. Long before Drew had their little indoor track.
Yep.
The buses would come up there, and I wouldn't think anything of it, because track still wasn't on my radar. I was working for the Stroud Courier, jumped on that, became sports editor, and wrote about everything. Had knowledge of track and field. I mean, I watched it. I mean, I liked every sport. But fast forward again, graduated East Stroudsburg. I get a part-time job at the Star Ledger, and I'm part-time for a while, and I'm covering every sport possible. First thing I had me cover was ping pong. I'm covering ping pong. There was a national championship in Westfield. They sent me there. When you're a rookie and you're, a greenhorn, you get sent to do everything. So one of the assignments I had was covering a cross-country meet, Warrenco Park. They used to have the old Warrenco course, which is 3.25 miles.
3.25, yep. I
3.25
ran that course, yep.
Yeah, so I finished on the track there in the stadium.
Oh, yeah.
And so I got a taste for that, and I covered a million other things. And the reporter at the time for the Star Ledger is, all-time legendary Ed Grant, who
one of the greatest men ever.
Yes. I mean, he was the internet before the internet. I mean, he is the reason why there are statistics in New Jersey track and field. And I mean, I called him the godfather of track and field. I mean, he was the guy. Like I said, I covered a lot of different sports. I was part-time. I helped out Ed Grant a little bit here and there, some indoor track, outdoor track. But, I still never thought, that I'd become this veteran track reporter that I am now. But he decided up out of nowhere, I think it was March of like 1990, I think it was. He just decided he had a conflict with an editor who changed some of his copy, and he decided that's it. I'm out of here. So he up and leaves, and basically there was an opening there for to cover high school track and field and cross country. And I'd gone into my boss's office every day, for 6 months saying, what do I need to do to be full-time? What do I have to do to be full-time? So after Ed Grant, quit the Star Ledger, I got waved in, said, hey, Jim, you always ask me what you have to do to be full-time. Well, you have to cover track and field and cross country. You want to be full-time. So boom, there it was. I knew a little bit about it, but I took it as, hey, this is my thing. I'm given this responsibility. Ed Grant is a legend. He had kind of taken me under his wing a little bit. I knew enough to get started. And thanks to Ed, who after he left the Ledger, he still wrote his own newsletter, still covered the sport. This is a guy that covered the sport starting in 1944.
Getting his book every year was like the most amazing thing. Every year, the Ed Grant book was like
it was the annual.
Your name in that book was just the most amazing thing.
Yeah, I mean, the best $5 you could spend on that annual. Come in every stat, about 50 deep in every event.
Unreal.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said,
and talk about hard work, right? Like a guy that is now out of, the newspaper setting, doesn't have to continue doing all that work, doesn't have to continue grabbing all those stats. What was it like working under, near a guy like that with that type of influence and that type of work ethic?
Well, I never would have had the career that I've had without him, because he could have very easily, when he moved on from the Star Ledger, continued his newsletter. He'd do announcing at meets. He would officiate at meets. He could have easily distanced himself from the Star Ledger and from helping me. But it was the complete opposite. Ed cared about the sport in a way it was going to be covered. So he took me under his wing after he left, and I would go to every meet. Based on his schedule, I would find out where Ed Grant's going to be. Where is he going to be announcing? Where is he going to be officiating? Yeah, and I was like, I am going to just go and follow his every move and just listen. just listen, because every single meet, it was a history lesson of New Jersey track and field, and learning conversions and hand times and things that I had no idea about. The different courses, what's a fast time at Homedale compared to Warrenenko, compared to Garrett Mountain, compared to Ocean County Park. And I just listened. And I decided, you know what? I have a responsibility to carry this on. Ed is the historian, and I took it as a personal challenge to cover the sport, the best I could, because people had expectations. Ed Grant was covering the sport for how many years? And
Star Ledger was the go-to. I mean, it was everything.
Yeah.
In the state. I mean, Ed Grant, you like getting an article about yourself in that paper was everything.
It was gold, and I sensed that from the athletes when I was younger, and back then you had to wait the next day to get news.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not like it is today, and I have people tell me all the time, still to this day, how much they couldn't wait to get the Sunday paper after sectionals.
Yep.
It was wall to wall. It looked like a phone book.
Loved it.
That's the only way you knew. That's the only way you knew who qualified for groups, who finished where, who did what. I mean, it was, and just to go back to Ed real quick. He taught me how he made sure that I knew how important it was to maintain the history of the sport, and how, like you said, Dave, how important it is for every athlete to see their name in the paper, what that means. So, I took that. He said, you treat everyone like it's your son or daughter you're writing about, because it means everything to them. And so you have to treat high school athletes differently than pro athletes too. You have to write a little differently too. And he just taught me everything. And then I just became an historian of the sport. I mean, I just go to the library every day. I'd get Jack Daniels books on training. I want to know everything, and just get in the ear of the older coaches and things like that. And other reporters like Paul Schwartz from the Bergen Record.
Schwartz is the best.
Schwartz he's a Bergen County god. I mean, he taught me a lot. Reuben Frank in South Jersey, another legend. So those guys were involved in the sport already, and I said, if I want to do this and I want to be successful, you look around and see what's working, what are guys doing, and so I kind of followed their lead, and here I am, 30-something years later, and it's I don't want to say it's all I know, but it's in my blood. It's just it's a way of life. It's not a job; it's a way of life.
One of my favorite moments ever was it was probably October or November of 1994, and my Tom Dura South team, we got up to 4th in the state in the Star Ledger, and my coach, the legendary Mr. Mark O'Leary, read us that article, and it was like the coolest thing. It was me, like Chris Greer, Steve Geiger, like we could not have been happier. It was one of the best moments I've ever had in my athletic career, was seeing my name and being ranked 4th in the state. It was unreal. And so I have to thank you for that. It was one of the best moments that I've ever had in my life. It was amazing. So thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure. I thought you were going to say that I had you underranked. It should have been 3.
No. We ended up 6 in the MOC, but it was just like,
that team was loaded. Greer, my gosh. I remember that like it's yesterday. Won indoor meet of champs.
He won indoor, and he won the outdoor 8 too.
That's right. That's right. He got the indoor outdoor double. Yeah. Well, what a hammer he was.
He beat Darnell McLean in the indoor. But it was crazy because it was like 4:27, which now would be like, you wouldn't even qualify past groups.
No, I was looking before. I think it was yesterday. I was just looking at some past meet of champion winning times, and because I was thinking about things we might talk about today and how the sport has changed. Ooh. And I mean,
Tyson with no spikes and like you can't warm up, go outside. It was the whole different ball game.
It's completely different. I mean, technology, everything's changed. I mean, the internet. How everyone's training. You can get workouts from Tin Man. I mean, so many high school runners now are paying for workouts.
Strava. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and it's made a difference. All these high school runners now, they get together, they run all summer, they meet at River Road, wherever, they meet at Homedale, group runs, and we
hated teams when I was in school. It
was unheard of. It was unheard of back then, but it's just raised all of that has just helped raise the bar, and it just, I mean, every year I say it when I leave the meet of champs in cross country or indoors or outdoors, I just shake my head and say, my God, all these guys are going to graduate. How are we going to top this? I mean, Marco
And you
Langen's,
always do.
and yeah, and there's just always talent, and it's incredible what the state produces for its size. I mean, I want to one day, I got some time, maybe next month or so, to get state records from all the states, especially the big states. California, obviously,
Florida,
Texas,
California,
Florida,
Texas, Georgia.
Texas, yeah.
and match them up, match up the state records, and just have a mythical, dual meet or something like that, and just to see how it scores out. It'd be very interesting.
It
I
would be
like
fun.
Jersey's chances.
What is a dual meet now? They're like,
So, Jim, I'm curious at this point, this point in your career, you've been doing it for, 30 plus years, almost going on to 4 decades. It doesn't seem like you're going to slow down anytime soon. But have you kind of had a chance to step back and realize, like, you talk about Ed Grant, Schwartz, and all these guys, like, do you realize at this point in your career that you have high school athletes and coaches and people like Dave and I that put you in that category? Like, you are a legendary New Jersey track and field writer. And it's not just, because there's like a lack of true track and field writers, but it's because you are a good, very good writer. When you do write-ups about the athletes, what Ed taught you and others, you do make the athletes feel, very special and things like that. Like, it was always a goal of mine to get a write-up, from, legendary Jim Lambert. And like, it was a goal. It was something that you wanted to see. Have you had the chance to kind of have that retrospective and know that you're in that echelon of writer? Or is it still something that you're kind of looking to attain, like, in your career?
That's a great question, Alex. I mean, short answer is no. I mean, I think when you're living in the moment, you never think that way. Maybe one day, I'll ride off in the sunset and, my stopwatch will stop for good one day, and maybe then look back on the career that I've had. But, I appreciate, what you said there. I mean, it means a lot to hear that. And I don't know. I'm just always thinking about what's next, and the next meet, and what am I going to see tomorrow? Like, every meet, there's an opportunity to see something you've never seen before, even if it's not, obviously I live for seeing state records, meet records, and great performances. We all do, but just still seeing that kid who breaks 2 minutes for the first time.
The freshman breaking
mile.
5 and how excited they are to break.
Yeah, just seeing someone go nuts. Somebody breaking 20. A girl at Homedale breaks 20 for the first time. A guy's breaking 17, 16, whatever it is. That never gets old, and that's so. So that's what keeps the passion going and the motivation going. Can you guys see this on my screen?
No.
All right, I'm going to leave it there. It just says I can't. I just got a message saying can't download updates now. Hit for more info, but I'm not going to let that go. No, I mean, maybe one day. I mean, I've been honored a few times, which is great to know that you're being that someone out there appreciates what you do. And at moments like that, at a banquet or something like that, I'll give it some thought and be like, wow. But it mostly just blows me away that I've been doing it for so long, because it just doesn't feel that way. Every day feels new, and every day I'm just as energized as ever. And I take that page out of Ed Grant's book. I mean, he was at track meets until he went to Penn Relays. I think it's 74 straight years.
he is
74 in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, guy was 94 years old. He was at the Penn Relays. I think his last Penn Relays was right before the pandemic. 74 years old. And Elliot Denman, he's got to be 90. He's still
What a
going.
legend.
I should have mentioned him earlier. Another guy that I emulated and looked up to. And I just look at it. Hey, this is what you're supposed to do. You find something you love, you do it till you can't do it anymore. And no one does what they do to get patted on the back. It's of course nice. And you're an athlete. You hear athletes say that all the time too, in press conferences when they retire, and Hall of Famer, this and that. And they never really think about it till they're in Canton or they're in Cooperstown, because they just appreciate everything.
We need a Hall of Fame for track somewhere.
And you know what, Dave, you're
massive.
You are 100% right. Ruben Frank and I talked about this, and I am going to bring it up to him. I'm going to text him tonight. Actually, we talked about starting one.
Sebastian Coe or something at World Athletics. I feel like that, since it's such an international sport, we should have separate ones. You should be inducted into the United States one, and also the international. I think that would be something that would be worthy, because it is hard to keep track of all the greats, unless you are an encyclopedia like David and yourself, because I'm certainly not that encyclopedia, but I think it'd be something cool to look back on and
I'm a track
kind
nerd.
of see all the, absolutely amazing runners and all those types of things. And I feel like me and Dave, like now that I think about it, I thought about it today, we've been fortunate to be able to talk to you now. We had Jeff Benjamin on earlier, who's a fantastic writer for,
he's unbelievable.
And we also had Jonathan Galt, who I think is one of the best up and coming writers. He's been doing it for a little while now, but he's, we've had the privilege right now to have three of the best writers in all of track and field. So it's like, it's super fortunate right now, just what we've been able to do.
No, it's fantastic. I saw the list you looked the other day. Some of the guests you had. I'm like, man, you guys are getting some legends on here. It's fantastic what you guys are doing. Yeah, I saw Galt was on and Benjamin. Yeah, Galt is a go-to for everything. I mean, he's on top of everything. Benjamin, yeah, those guys, fantastic. And we need more of it. Like I look around now and I was very fortunate that when I came around because Ed Grant was there. I mean, timing is everything in life sometimes, and I hit the jackpot when I, came on board at the Star Ledger and had Ed Grant too, because back then I was, full-time all 3 seasons. This doesn't happen anymore. You don't have to cover the entire state of New Jersey, all 3 seasons, all 3 running seasons. That's what I did. And that doesn't happen anymore. Those days, I don't think you might not be able to find a track reporter in the country right now covers high school sports for a state, entire state, for all 3 seasons. There might be that I don't know about, but it's a dying breed. And I was fortunate that I got to commit myself, and that's what really helped me as far as learning the sport and the history of it. And it was really just boots on the ground and talking to coaches. I mean, that's how building up sources for stories. I mean, you could just, texting wasn't around back then. It was a lot harder to get a breaking story, but now I can just, you build up that whole, it takes years. I mean, that's one good thing about getting older is I know the history and I know the coaches and the sport. So everyone asks me all the time about being an old man, this and that. I love it. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do this. I mean, so it's kind of like when you're an age group runner. Like I couldn't wait when I was running in my 30s. I couldn't wait to turn 40. I said, I am going to just beat down some of these guys. I can't wait to turn 40 and just beat up on these guys who are 44 in that age group.
Masters. Yep.
Masters. Yeah. I couldn't wait for it.
Masters are in their 30s now, apparently. So
yeah.
So, Jim, what was it like when you started to realize with technology that the Star Ledger was kind of going, by the wayside? Because like that was it for me. I mean, I was in high school, 90s. Like, how was that transition? Like, how did you make that move and say, I'm going to keep this going? Like, I'm not going to die out just because the newspaper is.
Yeah, well, it wasn't so much the newspaper. Well, yeah, obviously circulation dropped, internet, NJ.com. Why buy the paper? I mean, the paper was $1 a day when you can get it for free. It's, it's the whole thing like, why buy the milk when you can just, get the cow kind of thing. Am I saying that one right?
Yeah.
Sure. but yeah, so no one was buying, people weren't buying the paper as much. And so actually there's a transition within the Star Ledger in 2014 where New Jersey Advanced Media came on the scene. Yeah. And pretty much everything went online at that point. And I moved over from kind of the Star Ledger, even though the stories were still run in the Star Ledger, everything was online, and it was a big adjustment because we had gone from, and a lot of people couldn't make that adjustment from writing stories that just are going to appear in the paper the next day to all of a sudden you have to produce copy during the day on the spot all day. I mean, you had to produce content, and these guys that that work for NJ.com and other online papers had to produce content all day, whether it's get something posted by 8 a.m., noon, whatever. You got to keep that news cycle going. So that was a big change from, like I said, you had to get something done by 8 o'clock at night that would be in the paper the next day. So you basically had to become, and a lot of guys left the business. They couldn't they couldn't master that. All of a sudden, instead of being being just a reporter, you became a multimedia specialist. So now everything's video, everything, taking photos. I mean, everything. I'm going to track meets now. This is 2014 with the expectation of taking photos of the action. If a staff photographer wasn't there, go to a relay meet. I take a photo of every relay team after every winning relay team. Hey, come over, stand in the order you ran in, grab the baton, pose for a picture, and then make a slideshow out of that with a caption about that while the meet's going on. And then getting videos of every finish and try to video interview every winner and building slideshow, because the way the system works is you get, at the time, there'll be something in your contract. I mean, I'm kind of pulling back the curtain here, but in your contract, incentives for page views. And you got a lot of page views if you built a lot of videos, a lot of photos, and you had to go through a slideshow. If there was 100 photos in that slideshow, well, it wasn't user friendly, because if you wanted to see a photo of yourself or a kid on your team, if you're a coach, you got to sit there and scroll forever to find it. But that's how we got page views and things. So, and then you have to write your recap story, and I would try to do a live blog running meet. That's the one thing I really tried to do. One thing I did do is I just brought my office to the track. Most of the time you would see reporters up in the press box, and that's a good vantage point. And that was fine for when you're just being a reporter who has to get something in a paper for the next day. But when, internet came along, you needed to produce, copy quicker, and you had laptops all of a sudden. I would just get a table and chair, park myself at the finish line. You get to be really good friends with the timers because you want to use their power, and you want to get the results quick. And you want to get plugged in. So that's one thing that I'm really happy about doing, is that I kind of brought that element to covering track and cross country, is to just because people are relying on it. People who can't get to the meet, they want that stuff, and you got to deliver it. So that was a big adjustment, but I loved it. I mean, and that's kind of how it works now. If you see the way we set things up with MileSplit, Robert Kellert, who's the editor for NJ MileSplit,
great guy.
He's the best. He's the best. And now
Memorial.
Videos are everything, and the whole business has changed now. So everyone wants to see videos. We can kind of see a page view count on articles, and some of them do well, but I could spend hours on some of these recaps, and they're not going to get the hits that you're going to get from a great video of Devin Hart and Jack Stanley coming to the line together at Homedale a few years ago. Which
I feel, so I was going to ask you, do you feel like the art of the actual story is gone? People are just looking for times and
fast results. Yeah.
Because
100%.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know
the stories are being read, not as much as they used to. I mean, now with live results, live results is a game changer.
It is. Listen,
So,
I'm on there all the time. The MileSplit, but
coaches, athletes, they live on it. And it's the breakdown of splits. You get auto splits if if you have a really good timer.
Yep.
It's a complete game changer. And who's going to go look at the story for who ran what time when they saw it 30 seconds after they ran it?
Me.
So you kind of have to be creative and produce some content that athletes, coaches, fans can't get at the meet. I always tell myself when I get to a meet, what can I put out there that they can't see here? A lot of it's the video interviews, but they go up usually later that night. They athletes love being interviewed, and they get a lot of views. Obviously, the live streams that Robert Kellert's doing, especially if you can't get to a meet. I mean, who's not going to go home? I mean, I wish they had this. I mean, when you guys were back in competing, I mean, how great would it be to go home and just watch your race?
Yeah, that's cool.
And
you'd have to have a family member film it, and then hopefully the film wasn't super grainy and they had a good vantage point, and then maybe you could watch your race. It was, you had to have that. So I wanted to ask you, what was it like? Because you mentioned how the internet really coming along, basically changed everything. We went from having CNN as the only 24-hour news source of any sort to, once the internet came, sports media, politics, all sorts of news, boom, automatically 24-hour, right? Because you got all this access. And then, like you said, video really started to become a big thing. And then we live stream. What was that transition like? You talked about like a little bit, but what was that transition like of going from, okay, I got all my notes, let me get my story together, I know I have my deadline by this time, let me write it up, to no, I have to be writing while this meet's going, paying attention, timing, doing all the little things you have to do, which, ends up being a big product. And now you find yourself at New Jersey MileSplit, which I think with all the coverage MileSplit does, it is one of the best resources if you're a high school athlete, because they are in every single state. They are doing their best to cover that state. Essentially what you were doing on your own for the Star Ledger, there's now a team there. So what was all of that like, and how has it been hectic for you to adjust?
It was, but it just became the, you hear this a lot after the pandemic, the new normal. It just became, this is how I'm doing it. You have a workflow, you have a system. All of a sudden the story I was writing, the recap story I was writing, became the least important thing that I was doing that day, which was strange. I mean,
we all look forward to it.
Yeah. So that's why I love doing the live blog. See, the live blog was great before live results. Now there's really not a need for that. I mean, I used to keep running play by play. It's 9:09 a.m. The hurdles, the hurdle crew is putting their hurdles up. First heat, Jackson's up. They got the fastest seed time, and then boom, put the winning time. The 4 guys. I get splits from all the winner, and that was kind of what I did before live results. But
I would still love that. I'm not gonna lie. I would still read that.
No. But Jim still does that on Twitter or
yes, he does.
Yeah, not as much. I mean, some meets, yes, but if it's being live streamed and there's live results, not going to get nearly the amount of eyeballs on it.
Yep.
Which I don't like. Like I miss the whole story aspect, but I get it. Like everybody wants everything instant now, and
the story's always still there, but it's the last thing I do. The first thing I'm doing is I'm tracking down athletes to interview, to get video interviews with. That's what gets the eyeballs to the site. I mean, let's face it. I mean, you have to make some revenue. I mean, you can't do, and that's so that's the number one thing is capturing video. And I mean, Alex, you asked like what that transition was like, and if it was tough and hectic, and yeah, it is, and it's just different. You just have to go. I mean, all day. You just have to you flip that switch and it's just nonstop. And it's, I like it because I'm not a guy that can sit still. And it just,
we can tell
I'm able to do my
wonderful.
When I'm able to do my recaps later, I have all those interviews. It's a different way of in the past, I'd have a tape recorder, when I was just writing for the paper and scribble down notes and have to go through that later. Now I have all the interviews and I mean, it's a longer process downloading videos. The days are longer, but I know that every kid out there who ran in that meet and coaches out there can't wait to see it. So you want to just produce it as quick as possible. Now, there are times when, like I said, the recap comes last. Something big happens, forget it. Caitlin Tuohy's dropping a 16:21 at Homedale. That's not waiting for first story. That's getting up right away. I mean, breaking news. So breaking news will never change. And I mean, that's all part of the instant information and social media and being first. Too many people in a business value being first more than being right. And sometimes it happens. But no, this is where we are now. I mean, what's next? I mean, where's it going next? I mean,
so I'm going to pitch you an idea of what should go next for you guys at New Jersey MileSplit.
All right.
Once a week, there should be the Lambo cast where you go on there, you clip some of your favorite interviews you did during the week, during those meets. You talk about the races that you were at. I guarantee with your name and who you are, and if you could have people splice some of your interviews into these and you could talk about the meets, I think it would be as big as any podcast out there.
That's a really good idea. And a couple of years ago, Robert and I did a weekly recap. We called it On the Mark.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we've talked about getting that back rolling again. And I think that's a great idea. You splice in highlights and different things that happen. It's a lot easier to do in cross country because you don't have the daily I mean, in track, it's just there's so much going on, and there's so many things, and a lot of weekday meets. Whereas cross country is usually until you get into championship season, it's usually just Saturdays, weekend.
Yep.
So the Lambocast, I like that.
I think Lambocast is the way
Yeah.
to go, and you're there, and your interviews are spliced in, and not even as much as you could possibly do on the mark as well, where you're going in the hardcore recaps,
Yeah.
but just from your perspective, because you're at all these meets and you're doing all these interviews, and you can kind of give you can get that storytelling aspect back, right? Where you tell the story of
Mhm.
your favorite moment at this meet or
Yeah.
this interview, and
Oh,
this
I like
is
it.
Talk about parents, talk about coaches.
yeah,
talk about
just kind of give we had Clayton Murphy on the show, and he always talked about getting more in depth with the athletes and making it more of a presentation for
Right.
people to be interested in who could give a better presentation than you, who had the creativity to write these compelling recaps. And then here we are with interviews, with possibly some highlights, and you also talking about all these things. I mean, I would definitely tune in. I'd 100%. And we would shout you out every week.
Yeah, that's yeah. I'm gonna look into that. Maybe how about a body cam at meets?
Oh, that'd be awesome. Like a GoPro, like a Meet Pro,
Yeah, GoPro. I mean,
live
tough.
streaming it.
I mean, I'm not as fit as I used to be. When I used to be able to at the short coaches meet, there was a time where I could run from the 1 2 mile mark up at up there.
Yep.
Before they made the turn towards the tennis court, run to the tennis courts, catch them as they came around the tennis courts before you went
down
back
the
into the woods.
pavement and get down.
Sprint down. It's got to be. It's not quite a half mile. It's probably. I got to say it's about 600 probably.
Yeah.
To get down to the finish line, and I used to be able to do it at the short coaches meet for every single varsity race, and nobody beat me down to the finish line until guess who? Guess who was the first guy to beat me?
I'm gonna say Ches or Rosa.
Those got me. Rosa, it was close. It was about a photo finish with Rosa. Everybody forget. Well, a lot of people forget that before Rosa ran the 14:56 to break, to be the first guy under 15 at Homedale, he ran 15:04 at short coaches. A month before that.
Yeah.
So at short coaches, I was
Really
like, oh
good.
man, he is flying. I don't know if I'm going to beat him to the line, and I just got there, but then. The next year, Ches got me, but he got everybody.
So, Jim, it's called 22-year-old fresh out of college intern. That's what that's called right there.
Hold on. Wait.
I just it's crazy because 15-16 was the benchmark forever. Like Jason D.
Yep.
I'm like, had anybody ever run that fast? And then now it's like, it's crazy how fast things have gotten. But that was the benchmark. Like Jason D. Joseph was like.
Everyone was chasing. Yep.
For years.
Yeah. One of the first things I noticed when I started covering cross country was the Homedale Park course record, and after seeing a few meets there, I'm like, my God, no one's going to run that fast. No one's going to break that record. It's the most untouchable record there is. No one's sniffing it.
I thought too.
What's that?
I said I thought the same thing. I'm like,
yeah,
you run 15-16. It's insanity.
Yes, and then because the record was I think 31 before he ran to 16, he demolished it.
Yeah.
That's back in 1988. So it lasted until Muhammad Kadrouri came close. Kadrouri,
yes, he did.
I think it was 15:21.
Yeah, Kadrouri was really good.
Crazy.
And I was thinking, wow, you know what? Maybe someone can. And then it took Craig Forey's 2006. So you're looking at 18 years it took to break that record. And the crazy thing about that race that is Forey's tried to break the course record of the Group 4 race the week before. He and Coach Jim Schlentz laid out a plan where you have to be at the 2 mile in order to have a shot at it. And he went out, ridiculous. I forget what he was. It might have been right around 5. Whatever it was fast. And he paid the price, and he wound up going, I think, 15:31. Meet of champs, they're thinking, what, go for the win. You can't take that chance. If you blow up there, you get off. And it turns out he winds up blasting a 5:05, I think was his last 1.1. He would just felt great coming out of the bowl, and he was negative splitting his way, and boom, 15:15, and one of the best moments, in NJXC history right there. And the bar
Park is it's just such an amazing, and like I get my my old timiness, oh well, it's faster now, everything's smooth and
it is faster now.
Yeah, it's faster now, and I hear the old time guys that ran in the late 70s. They were running the current Homedale course in '79, and it's a lot of people don't know it, but they reconfigured it a little bit. They used to run the bowl ran in reverse at one time,
and you ran up that hill to the left of the starting line.
The left of the start line, 100%. So the current course in '79, I have the old timers. They tell me, oh, you know what? If it rained, there was huge puddles. Now it's packed down. It's like
I think Joe Carney won the first meet that with the
78
course.
Well, 78 champ.
Carney, yep.
Yeah, well, he ran it in '78.
Joe Weber, I'm sorry.
Joe Weber from Carney. He won in '78. The course wasn't exactly the same as it is now. '79, they changed to its current course now. But yeah, those guys will say all the time, like, you can't put a time on it, but yeah, I mean, it's become a cross country course. I mean, back then it wasn't. It was a park, and there wasn't a clear path the way there is now, and it wasn't manicured the way it is now. But Homedale, man, it's like the 8th wonder of the world. I mean,
you hear the same thing with New York and Van Cortlandt Park. Van Cortland's the same thing of the guys that ran the old Van Cortlandt with the back hills, and now they talk and they're like, these guys don't run the course.
Oh yeah, we ran barefoot. It was like running on hot coals. Oh my god!
In their defense, Van Cortlandt now when they redid it is not as hard as it used to be.
No, it's not. And the shoe tech. They talk about the shoes they wore. I mean,
which is true.
We get it.
So you have a wealth of knowledge for New Jersey track and field and cross country. I am going to have you pick down your absolute favorite moment covering the sport for New Jersey.
One.
You're
going to make me pick one?
I'm going to make you pick one. I'm going to make you make some athlete feel really special right now.
And then we can talk about honorable mentions too.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, there's a million of them. One moment for each, one for cross, one for track?
Overall. Both of them combined. I'm really putting you on the spot here.
Oh, my gosh. I have a favorite moment that wasn't a high school race, just in terms of just what I saw happen. That is number one on my list. But it's not from me covering meet or being there or being a high school meet. Can we have one of each?
Sure. You can have one of each.
All right. My favorite moment is watching Sidney McLaughlin win the gold and breaking a world record in the 400 hurdles.
50-point, man.
Amazing.
50, yeah. I mean, and it's just because, I mean, I saw her as a freshman. I met her before she got into high school, and you get to know the athletes and their families, and
her brother was so good too.
Her brother was incredible as well.
Yeah, I mean, he was just in the finals at the U.S. Championships in the 400 hurdles. I mean, everyone conveniently forgets, but Taylor McLaughlin, he's one of just a few guys who ever won 4 individual championships at the group championships.
Absolutely. Legend in New Jersey running as well.
He's an all-time great.
Yes.
And funny story, if we have time, the first time I ever met Sydney was through her brother. I was interviewing Taylor at the Jersey City Armory. He had just won a bunch of races, and I was talking about how his performance will go down as one of the best ever. Meet history, Union County history. He's going to go down as a legend. We're going through the whole thing. And he said to me, something along the lines of, "You think what I'm doing is great. Wait till you see what she does." And I had no idea who he was pointing to. I turned around, and he goes, "Right there." And I'm looking like, there was this little girl. She's, I think, 12. And I said, "Oh yeah, what? Who's that?" And he said, "That's my sister, Sydney. And I'm telling you right now, she's going to do things that no one's ever seen before."
That's awesome.
And I put it in the back of my mind, and like I was like, "Wow, that's pretty big." You don't think anything of it at the time. Like, okay, we'll see what happens. And then a couple years later, freshman year, first race she ever runs at the New York Armory, she breaks the state record in the 300. First race of her life. Breaks the state record in the 300, and we all know what happened after that. But
talk about the humbleness to shout out your sister while you're being interviewed already as the greatest in New Jersey history.
Yeah, well,
you're sitting there shouting out your sister. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, that's Taylor McLaughlin for you. One of the most, the whole family. Humble superstars. What you see from her, I always tell people, the best thing about Sidney McLaughlin is she's an even better person than she is an athlete. What you see out there, she is who everyone should have as a role model. She is the definition of.
That juggling video was hilarious. I was watching her. And you know what the thing is, too? And me and Dave talk about this all the time. This is where United States track and field is the worst. We have Sydney McLaughlin. Not only is she the greatest 400-meter hurdler of all time, she is a good-looking young lady. And what do you do with good-looking people, especially athletes? You promote the hell out of them, right? Because that sells. You have girls like her. You have a dude like Noah Lyles, another guy, good-looking dude, amazing athlete. Where are their promotions? Where is the money being spent on them? Not just from their brands, but to put them out there and grow the sport. Like it is mind-boggling to me that there's a golden opportunity right now at United States track and field, and I feel like it's being squandered.
No, you just mentioned, Lyles and Sydney. I mean, they are the faces right now.
Absolutely.
Right? U.S. track and field and worldwide, globally. I mean, Sydney is out there quite a bit. I mean, you see her in a lot of Gatorade, but Gatorade commercials.
New Balance.
I mean, they do a good job. She's doing some other commercials and things like that outside the sport too. I mean, she's being marketed well, and rightfully so, but it's not enough. You're right. I mean,
should be on ESPN.
Everywhere. They should be everywhere.
Shows. She should be walking. She should be invited to the Met Gala to try on a drug. She should be out there where we see a lot of these other athletes that, if you're a great collegiate female basketball star, you're everywhere. You're invited to everything. You're doing
Caitlin Clark was everywhere.
Caitlin Clark and Reese. What's Reese's name? The LSU girl.
Yeah,
she's been everywhere.
Reese. Yeah,
Angel Reese. She's been. She's now on sports. She just did a swimsuit thing. Like
they're out a first pitch
exactly. And Sydney McLaughlin should be doing all these things and more.
But maybe she doesn't want to, though. I don't know.
Maybe
that's a good point. I mean, she has thrown out first pitches at games. She's gone back to Kentucky, and I mean, she makes a lot of appearances. But I mean, we could go on, and I see, I'm sure you guys follow Michael Johnson on Twitter.
Yeah,
love him. Great follow.
Yes.
Even the ideas I disagree with, I appreciate the fact that he's putting them out there.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, and. He's talking about what can be done to make the sport to pack the stands. I mean, you saw Hayward Field.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of money it costs to go out there. I mean, we could do a whole nother segment on moving the meet around and how much it costs to go out there and what can be done to
Are there other places though that can have that meet?
That's the big question. I mean,
that's the problem here in the States is like you go over to Europe. There's a million stadiums. There's not any track only.
That's true. I mean, Icon Stadium is obviously a fantastic venue, but it's tough getting in and out of there. I mean,
who's parking there? And then it's an arm and a leg to get to Icon. Honestly.
Right. I mean, Franklin Field, obviously that's a great venue. I saw something on social media about that not long ago about the configuration of the track.
How with the inside lanes and
so I mean.
And it's difficult with colleges. Like you can't keep holding it at colleges, and that's some of our biggest venues in the United States.
But you're right.
Like Dave mentioned, we need some track only facilities because that would make it, it would make it more comfortable for the athletes. It would make it more comfortable for the fans. Mm-hmm. You could do a little more things like we talk about Diamond League, and we've had some athletes that have competed there, and they said it's a party. It is a festival at Diamond League meets. It is not just go and watch people run or throw or jump. There are things to do. There's events. It's Penn Relay's experience where you go there and it's just a great time is all of these Diamond League meets. And that's what we need with pros.
Yeah, 100% right. I mean, there's a way to do it, and it's got to take someone who much higher pay grade and have sport than myself. I mean, there has to be a way to do it, and that's why I like the conversation. I mean, Michael Johnson and a lot of other retired athletes
and RG3 are doing
I mean even guys like I was gonna say like RG3 who is now does football, but he was a big time track guy, and he talks about it and he tweets about it, and like we need more people like that to just keep blasting out there. Like these athletes are the best in the world, and they need to be paid, and we don't, like a Clayton Murphy, and like he has to run so many meets every year just to make his, just to make ends meet. It's crazy.
Oh yeah. I mean, you got these guys who are running ridiculous times who can't get sponsored.
Eric Holt.
Eric Holt, the lightning bolt. I mean, man, what does that guy have to do?
We had him on. Like he's won like his last like 3 or 4 meets, and I just tweeted that. I'm like, how does this guy not have sponsor? He just ran a 3:30.
Last race he ran, he beat 5 or 6 guys who were sponsored, big names.
Yeah.
Yup, and you see it all down there. You see all the Brooks Beast. You see all this, and
Yep.
you wonder where Eric Holt gets it. And it just popped into my head another way that it would help. Our big time athletes need to rub elbows with some of the others in the other sports, because you see that crossover a lot of the times. You see football players talking to basketball players talking to. We need our
Aaron Judge and Stanton just walked Drake out to his concert.
Yes,
we
need and a guy like Noah Lyles, Kenny Bednarik, who Kung Fu Kenny has such a great personality.
Yeah,
guys like these need to be rubbing elbows with your, Kevin Durant's, with your guy, like your big time athletes, where they're giving them shout outs. That would certainly help the sport to be like, hey, that's my dog. Go watch him compete. Like,
that's a great point, because it just made me think the other day when Messi made his debut.
Yeah. Oh my God, it was everywhere.
Who didn't shout it out? Who didn't?
Yeah, LeBron. LeBron. It was him and LeBron. Every celebrity, every athlete, they want a piece of Messi. Right. That should happen. You're right.
By the way, I hope that LeBron's son, Bronny, is doing well, and that's a very scary thing. So I just want to get
and
it's a reality with all athletes, especially sprinters and runners, because we do have the naturally enlarged hearts that just comes with the training that happens, and unfortunately, we've seen that in some marathon racers and things like that, where they do have just acute cardiac arrest in the middle of races. So
Ryan Shea, terrible.
Yeah.
We've seen it in our sport, which is terrifying when we see it in other sports, because for us, a lot of the times we know it leads never to a good thing. So it's good to see that Bronny seems to be recovering. I know the hospital made an announcement today. So yeah, definitely shout out to Bronny James. But I'm going to go back. Jim, I'm not letting you off the hook. Favorite New Jersey moment. What do we got?
Yeah. I was trying to dodge that.
No. I'm not letting you off the hook. What do you got?
No, I don't want to get off the hook, because they gave me this. Rosa breaking. There's different categories. You're going to make me pick one, but there are like different categories, or a 1A and a 1B. But I'll give you your answer. The moment that blew my mind the most. Can I answer it that way?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I like that.
So many great moments. But what happened at Homedale Park in 2012, Superstorm Sandy hit.
Yep.
A lot of people got displaced. Power out. It was one of the worst times. The East Coast.
It was late October. It was
one of the worst times that we've ever gone through in Jersey, the East Coast, the whole thing.
Yep.
And what Tom Heath and CBA did at the Meet of Champions, when the Meet of Champions got moved.
Yep.
Because of Superstorm Sandy, they had to move everything back. The group meet ran the day of the Meet of Champs. The Meet of Champs got moved to Wednesday the following week, which was 3 days before Nike Northeast Regionals.
He wrote an amazing article on this whole story. It was amazing. It's
probably my favorite story, and it's because it's the moment that blows my mind the most. To line up 5 JV guys. Now, they held out their entire starting 5. Their number 6 guy, Sandy Liberatore, he ran. Heath joked to Sean McCaffrey, CBA's obviously his current coach, was the Homedale coach at the time. And
I know.
And he told me a funny story.
I used to race against Sean when I was young.
Yeah.
Animal. Great guy.
And Homedale had a great team that year in 2012, and Sean thought he might be able to pick them off because he knew Heath was going to hold out his guys. And McCaffrey told me a funny story that when they got to the park, he walked his team from Homedale High School to the park, and Heath's team was getting off the bus. And McCaffrey said to him, "Hey, you're running Sandy," and Heath's response was, "I can do math." He knew he had to at least have him in the lineup to pull it off. And he takes 5 JV guys, throws them in the lineup, and they beat the best teams in the state and win the Meet of Champs. It's just mind-blowing. Could you imagine? I wrote this in the story then. Could you imagine sitting your entire starting 5 at the Tournament of Champions in New Jersey basketball final? You sit your starting 5 and you go out and beat Roseville Catholic and win the Tournament of Champions?
Wild.
That's what it was.
You know?
Mind blowing. And a great stat that came out of that was Blaze Farrow was a freshman then. And obviously we know what he went on to do great things.
NAU legend.
And he's a Jersey legend. He's a college legend. I mean, he got 2 or 3 national championships with Northern Arizona.
Yep.
But he that was the first. He's the only guy ever to score in 4 meet a champion winning teams.
Wow.
That's what started it. That meet started it. There's been other guys who've been on CBA's team. Hoffman, Bill Hoffman, I think. There might be another one who took the line for the team that won 4 times, but he's the only one that scored all 4 years. And incredible. But that is the most blown away I've ever been by something, and that's saying a lot because I've seen a lot. Yeah.
So Jim, all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
One more question. Your favorite individual moment that you have witnessed with your own eyes?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking when Alex raised the question, one of the thoughts I had was a moment
so many.
Yeah, but that's why I said there's like a 1 and 1A to some of these things in a different category. And we tweeted about this the other day. You guys threw it at me. The wildest moment, the
3,200 being
chaotic moment. Yes. Thunder Rosa. Are you kidding me? What happened?
They were going to run so fast too.
What happened at Lombardi Field?
Old Bridge, right?
In Old Bridge, that day is one of the top moments in New Jersey track and field history for all the wrong reasons. I mean, it should have been remembered for the greatest 3,200 ever run.
Why'd they even start the actual event?
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, this is 2011 meet of champs. They actually moved that meet. It used to be on a Wednesday all the time. I forget what happened. They wanted more time between meets after the group meet, whatever it was. That ran on a Thursday. And the big issue was the race shouldn't have started. I mean, in my book, he's a 2,800 meter champion winner because
world record holder.
World record. Like Liam Murphy a couple years ago indoors at Ocean Breeze. He's the 1,400.
Yep. No, it's that
debacle.
They would have run. I mean, they might have broke 8:40 that day. They were rolling.
Oh, well, I got it pretty much figured out that he was at 7:38 at the bell.
My God.
I'll fight anybody in the world who tells me he wasn't going to go a sub 62.
Yeah.
He's probably going to go 60 or 60.
Yeah.
He was going to go in the 8:30s. He was building up.
And his brother was also rolling too.
Oh, he was going to go 40s. Jeremy Elkine was in that race, who a lot of people forget beat Rosa the year before at South Plainfield with 300 meters to go. He just hit the gas and boom, and broke the meet record and beat Rosa in that race. He was in that race in 3rd place. And Morgan Pearson, we talk about a loaded race. Morgan Pearson went on to become an Olympian in a triathlon. I mean, and have a heck of a career, in college. He's the guy that came back for the rerun on Monday. I
remember that day.
And the greatest quote ever.
The Roses didn't go because they were running Nats, right?
Well, here's what happened. The Saturday after the meet of champs was Dream Mile. They went and ran a Dream Mile at Icon Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Then the rerun of that race was on Monday, and they had nationals the next weekend. So there was no way meet of champs was not going to happen for the Roses. But shout out to Morgan Pearson because he had the greatest quote of all time after he won a rerun. I remember asking him point blank if he feels like I don't know how I phrased it. I try to be delicate with it because I don't want to ruin a moment for him. The guy won a race. It's not his fault what happened.
Correct.
I asked him kind of how he felt about the fact that the fastest runners weren't here. And he said something along the lines of, we all know who the real, meet a champion winner is. Yeah, I won this race, but I would have traded what just happened here winning this race for where I would have finished on last Thursday because he was going to run any 840s. He was flying too.
Ridiculous.
He basically just said that the there should be a little star next to my name, asterisk next to my name, and it should go down as 2,800. Meet a champion winner, Joe Rosa, because he's the deserving winner. And shout out to Pearson. Talking about a guy who just told it like it was. Refreshing. I love guys like that.
What do you think of this whole debacle that we're having now with NJSIAA?
Oh yeah,
Nationals. Yeah. Why did they push it back? Why did they push it back a week? It can be solved so easily. Yeah. What is happening? Before
I answer that question, I'm not going to let myself off the hook because I never answered your question, Dave.
Okay.
About
man. Go ahead.
The Thunder Rosa and the whole debacle. Oh my God, his father came running down on the track. Someone grabbed the mic that day, was screaming about let him run. Oh my gosh! But that is the most bizarre moment. But for one moment that blew my mind, I know I mentioned CBA as being the biggest mind blowing moment, but the one single athlete performance, and man, oh man, if people are going to say, how do you not pick Sydney? How do you not pick Ajay Wilson?
Because it is your list, and you pick what you want.
Man, there's two. Can I go boy girl?
Yeah, Go for it. Go for it. We'll let you off the hook. Go for it.
Man, I know there's going to be. People are going to think that I'm going to say, Cheserek and or Rosa or something. I'm going with interestingly enough, the day that the rerun took place at the 2000 Meet of Champions in Old Bridge, there was several events that weren't finished. One of the other events that was not finished that day got moved to Monday. It was the boys shot put.
Nick
in the boys shot put, his last competition of his career, Nick Vina from Morristown,
monster,
who had won every Meet of Champion title in the shot. He was 4 for 4. He was 7 for 7 as far as indoor, outdoor, winning a shot to Meet of Champions. And here he is going in a circle for the last time. He had already clinched his 8th total Meet of Champ title, 4 indoor, 4 outdoor in a shot. He got 1 in the discus too, so he finished his career with 9. He already had a 1. Bunch of throws over 70.
Crazy.
Everyone's clapping. He's got it locked up. Gets in his squat. Gets ready at the back of the circle. Gets it tucked in. It's that lefty spin all ready to go. Place is going wild, and Nick launches a bomb. The place, everyone's mouth is open. Where's it going to land? How far is it going to go? Boom! It comes down. They get the steel tape measure out because after they pull the first tape, they come up with 75, 10 and a quarter on his last throw of his high school career. The place goes wild. Would have been better if it was on Thursday because not as many people came back, but the shot put area was still packed.
The Ryan Krauser of New Jersey.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that throw by Nick, one of my favorite stats of all time. Nick's final throw of his high school career, like I said, 75, 10 and a quarter. Last throw ever in high school. That was the 96th time he threw the shot 70 feet or further in his high school career.
Listen, 50 feet is a hell of a throw in high school. You go.
You know how many guys who have who else has thrown 70 feet in
probably in Jersey? Maybe one of the Giorgios, maybe, but I don't think so.
They didn't hit it.
I think they were like 68. Glenn and Kevin were like 68 feet. Maybe.
No, 69. Kevin got close, like 69, 10. Brahim Days hit it. Brahim Days from Bridgeton got over 70.
Talk about throws program there. Him, they have such a great throws program. They have Lou Gordon and
Lou Gordon. Oh, you go back to the old Bridgeton days. Ray Wilkes, Lou Gordon.
One of the most amazing things I ever saw in Meet of Champs history was Royce Reed was ridiculous. Wins the freaking javelin. He wins the 400 hurdles. And then
he's right up at my very top of
Freddie Sharp too was insane. Freddie
Sharp was a guy I was thinking of just now too when he asked me the greatest performance. I mean, what he did at the Meet of Champions by breaking the 400 hurdle record in the first event. Then he come back and he won the 8. And then he jumps into 1600 against Steve Slattery and Matt Elmuccio, who are on fresh legs. He gets third.
Right.
It's a huge PR. I mean, he ran ridiculous his times. I mean,
insanity. He just didn't even know, but he's like, I'm just going to run.
Steve Slattery, a Talking in Ovals alum, just throwing that out there.
Oh, yeah. Another all-time great. Yeah. Steve is right up there as far as one of the greatest New Jersey athletes to not win an outdoor meet a champ title. He just ran into a buzzsaw in El Muccio.
And Jim, I really thought you were going to say anytime Dave Hyatt towed the line was your favorite.
No, come on. I was a nobody. I ran into like a 432.
But Sharp's triple is ridiculous. And I asked him afterwards, like, why? Like, why'd you do all three? No one does that.
Because he wanted to.
He says his answer was because I qualified for all three.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
what
awesome.
a novel concept. What a novel concept.
Exactly. But Nick Vina's throw, that was just because, and like I said, 96 times, obviously that's counting every throw in a series. I mean, that's not 96 meets.
Right.
I mean,
that's
he was
so ridiculous.
But that's the most ridiculous stat ever. And I mean, others that are right there.
Has to be Royce too.
What's that?
Royce Reed was.
Royce Reed to win a javelin in the 400 hurdles. I mean, come on. At the
that whole team, him, Wilkes, and Gordon. Like, I mean, my TR South team. I think we beat them at sectionals, but it was like, how? Like they were just.
Wow, you beat that team?
You know what? No, I'm sorry, because we had more people score, but they were just so top heavy. It was insanity.
But that's the way you can beat them at the sectional level. But the group meet, they were untouchable.
Groups. Forget it.
But Royce Reed, well, he's the first guy to do that quad, the quad club. He won the 400 hurdles, the 400, the jav. Then he came back the next day and won the 200.
That's crazy. Just even think about being able to do that at the highest level of New Jersey, like meet with the meet of champions. That's ridiculous. So
I almost answered your question with the greatest. Here's a couple that are like right there. That if you ask me tomorrow, they might be my answer. What Aaron Donahue did.
Smart.
I mean, Aaron Donahue, if you asked me Sydney, we all know she's the GOAT. What Aaron Donahue did for 4 years because of not just what she did in the distance, but the javelin. Aaron Donahue, you can win 16 group championships in your career if you win 4 every year. She won 15. 15 out of 16.
Stupid.
She won the 8, 16, 32 in javelin 3 straight years.
Let alone XC too.
And she won 2. She won 2 cross titles. So, I mean, and she was 1,000-point scorer, I believe, in basketball. Aaron Donahue's
she didn't even run winter track. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, she wanted to meet. Yeah. Well, she came out for and she won. You won meet a champ title there.
We actually had on Julie Cully, who gives good props to Aaron when she ran with Gagliano at the NJ
Yep. Yeah. I mean, what she did, and then she threw the shot put too. Relay meets. She would be. They needed another thrower, and she would. She would score.
That's the love of the sport that we.
Yeah. Aaron Donahue was a different breed. She was one of a kind. It was just. She just had a motor, an engine. And a most unique running style too. I mean, her head bobbing all over the place, and she was just
arms everywhere. Yep.
Blood and guts. She was blood and guts. She poured everything she had into every single race, every single step. Just like the Roses too. Like they just not that other athletes didn't get the most out of themselves, but they just poured everything they had, and just they would just die to get another point for their team if they had to.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a different mentality though, because there's a fear factor, right, in actually giving your all to compete.
Yeah.
And it just takes a different type of person to be able to just expel every little bit of energy that you have and be willing to not be able to walk the moment you cross that line. Like
that's right.
Everyone talks about a kick. Everyone talks about giving it your all, but you find your greats are the ones that are able to dig down and actually do it.
No,
Julie
you're
Cully,
right.
Talked about that, and it was amazing. Like her interview was great. So Jim, do you feel that the state is losing the chance because there's because people want to go to Nats, or do you feel like we can get it back?
Well, I really do think. I mean, it's a big problem, and it all started a few years ago when they moved the sectionals off of Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, but I don't get it, but
and there was a shortage. Well, the reason given was a shortage of officials. Right. They couldn't get enough of. And if you look around, there's not too many officials under the age of 50. I mean, it's a big problem in the state.
Like 70.
Yes. I mean, there's not that many. It's a problem. Al Stumpf, who's the track and field tournament director for the NJSA, gave me the stats. They lost a ton of officials over the last few years. So they moved the meet because of that to the following weekend. Another reason why they had trouble with having a non-public meet separate.
Right, because they don't even have a sectional, right? The non-publics, it's just groups and then.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Yeah, I meant to say on the group level. The group level, they combined. This year they're combined with the other groups at once at the sites. I'm talking about the sites.
Right.
Yep.
So they that's something I know that the track coaches want to have changed. There's many things that need to be changed, but the number one thing is the conflict between meet champs and nationals. Last year was a disaster with how many athletes did not show up. It didn't feel like a championship meet at all. It was one of the worst days I felt for the sport. This year they tried to move it up a little bit. It's still conflicted, especially when we had the air issue and meet got moved and athletes had to choose. And not as many skipped the meet, but enough to cast a cloud over the meet. So
having groups as a one-day meet was so hard. Groups.
What's that?
I said having groups as a one-day meet was just tough.
Oh, it was ridiculous. And they cut out the amount of throws and everything, and finals on time and things like that. And
there were no jump finals. It was like, all right, just jump 3 times.
Yep. It took away from the performances. It just
hurdles too.
Yeah, left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. Now, the solution is going back to having sectional Memorial Day weekend, but officials are still a problem. So, talking to Al Stumpf, he knows it's a big problem. He wants to fix it. He takes a lot of shots from a lot of people, and I get it. His hands are tied.
We'd love to have Al on the show. If Al ever wants to come on, if you listen, we'd love to have you on.
Yeah. You know what, Al? I don't want to speak for him, but I'm sure that he doesn't mind me sharing some things that he and I discussed, which was he doesn't want this conflict.
No one does, right?
No. So I think we're looking at the possibility of moving up the sectional meet for the week before Memorial Day weekend. Before that. And then you have that weekend off, Memorial Day weekend off.
Is that the weekend of the short conference, which has also become?
Well, there's going to have to be a lot of shuffling around amongst conferences and county meets.
But the short conference has also become a farce too. When I was in school, like that was the meet, like Ocean Mountain County. But now it's like no one goes now. So.
Yes, that definitely is another issue. But yeah, there's going to have to be some rescheduling, but it can be done.
Of course,
the coaches want this, and I know they do.
We've had many of them on this show. We're like, what are we doing?
Complaining about it.
Yeah. I mean, nobody liked the way it was. So I am sure that the coaches can get together and make it work for their counties and conferences in order to get this, like I said, the sectionals to be the week before Memorial Day weekend, groups the weekend after, where it always was, and then meet a champs. If you want to go back to you want to go Wednesday, midweek, then you have 10 days.
10 days, yep.
Till nationals. So
it
then
was always special having it on that Wednesday too. And especially if you were an athlete that was competing there and you got to leave school a little early because, and then you were walking out and people knew it became a big deal. I know in Manchester, if we had any athletes going to meet a champs, there would be an announcement on their way out. So-and-so is on their way to go and compete at the New Jersey Meet of Champions. They'll be running this race. We had Sonia Sullivan. Sonia Sullivan's one of the most prolific hurdlers and women that we've had. And just the pride.
Ian Hahn too.
Ian Hahn was incrable.
Mason
Jones taking third in the triple, and that being his quote unquote third sport. Even though Mason
this year,
incredible.
He had long jump champ was from Manchester.
Long jumps champ, and then we have Bella Palmiato, who'll be back next year in the long and triple. Like Manchester, we have a lot of pride in our Manchester track and field. We have an incredible history, but just like that Wednesday meet was special because you knew that if you were going there. At least Manchester, and I feel like a lot of schools probably do this, are going to make a big deal about it.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, I didn't have a problem when they moved it to the Saturday because it didn't conflict with nationals. Was like the next week, and the idea behind it too was to get bigger crowds on a Saturday. I mean, let's face it.
But even if you still stayed on Saturday, you'd still have one whole week.
Still have a week. Yeah. So That can be worked out whenever you want that meet to be.
Yeah.
The point being, there's no more conflicts anymore. If you have bad air quality coming from wildfires next year, you can move the group meet and still have a 2-day meet, and you still have plenty of time to the meet of champs. If the meet of champs has to get moved, you have built-in rain dates and
there's some wiggle room.
There's wiggle room big time. And then everyone's going to go back to the way it was. They're going to run the meet of champs. It's going to be the meet it should be, showcasing our best athletes, being the best meet of the year. And then everyone goes off to nationals.
Because there's so many states who don't have a meet of champs. Like they end at like the groups. So like there's just something special about that meet. Like
there is. I mean,
New York ends at groups. That's it.
It's a special meet, and like it needs to have its place. I just feel like we're losing it, and I don't like it.
Yeah,
and that was, I think, the biggest complaint of the coaches this past year. There didn't seem to be a plan B for any of this, and I think that was the problem. They packed it so tight that the plan B was basically, it was unacceptable in the past few years. With, we're all New Jersey track people. We love New Jersey track. It has been unacceptable. The result of what we've seen, like this past year, I think the athletes made a concerted effort to make meet of champs feel like meet of champs, and they did. There were some incredible performances. But the year before, it was just another meet. It was just another invite. There was nothing special. And not to take away from those meet of champions 2 years ago, but it just didn't. You talked about it. You said it wasn't a great day for the sport because it didn't feel like it. And I think the coaches, their biggest complaint was it didn't seem like there's been a plan B over the last few years. If something minor went wrong and they couldn't do something, it was just basically like, well, this is what you're doing. Deal with it. Sorry, guys. We don't care. It really seemed like they just did not care about the coaches, the athletes, and the people competing.
No, you're 100% right. Because last year we had a year to fix it, so it wouldn't happen again.
Yep.
And it was still an issue. Yeah. It wasn't fixed. And we talked about some of the solutions. It's not a difficult fix. I mean, just go back to the way it was.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted it to change.
It was great for so many years. Why change it?
Yeah. And like I said, the reason was obviously the officials. Okay, if that's a problem, then
which
like I said,
stinks to
Well, New Jersey has been angling away from these tournament of champion type things. They took it away from basketball. They've seemed to have been on a warpath to get rid of these. And it seems like Meet of Champs is one of the last ones really standing because of its like special nature. But, Jim, just from your experience and seeing the way that it's been, how long does Meet of Champs have, successful or not?
Losing to Meet of Champions in cross country, indoors and outdoors would be the worst thing that could ever happen.
1,000%.
Agreed.
To the sport. And you won't find anybody really in the community that disagrees. Losing in the other sports, when that happened, there was a big concern that we're going to lose it in cross country last.
Yeah, there was.
It seemed headed there.
Yeah.
And
even the way now that like everyone qualifies is like I feel like it takes away from the smaller schools.
Yeah, I mean a lot of things changed, and thankfully the Meet of Champs went off. I mean there was talk about the coaches having their own meet if the state ended the season after the group meet.
Good for the coaches.
Yes, and a shout out to the South Jersey Track Coaches Association who had a banquet and honored the top teams from the Meet of Champions because they didn't receive trophies at the Meet of Champions. I mean, the Meet of Champs, that was just that whole scene of bringing up all the athletes and handing them their individual medals and things and knowing who the top teams were, but not actually handing. Can you imagine like winning the Stanley Cup, but they're not going to hand them the cup?
Just the MVP and the 3 stars. The 3 stars get their stars for the last game of the cup. And the cup ceremony doesn't happen.
In Quebec, we're going to give you a trophy at a coach's banquet. You won't Stanley Cup. But a shout out to Marty Holleran, my touching coach, who was
Marty's the man.
Yep, he was a big reason why the Meet of Champions happened. And there was a lot of other coaches who really helped out with that. But a big reason why cross country and the indoor and outdoor Meet of Champs stayed is because the individual aspect of it. Much like wrestling has even though it's not a team champion at the the tournament of champions in wrestling. If you're playing down or running down to individual championships, that it seems to be safe. That's not going.
They can't take away Meet of Champs. They can't take away Atlantic City with wrestling because that is a national caliber event. Same thing with Meet of Champions. Like if you're a winner at the Meet of Champions, it carries weight. It is an absolute badge of honor, and the nation knows who the Meet of Champion. The coaches around the nation knows.
We've had guests on our show who were like, it was one of the biggest accomplishments that I ever had was winning MOC.
Yep. Oh, yes, any kid who comes into high school in track and field and cross country as a freshman, what their goal is. Everybody aspires to be a Meet of Champion winner. It's the big thing you can.
And Dave, you talked about it too. Just being a member of the cross country team that competes in Meet of Champs, that's a huge deal. Whether you win it or not, just the fact that you were a part of that varsity 7 and towed the line with the best in the state, that is just a moment that if they take that away, where track, it's a little bit different. You have to qualify and it's the best of the best that get to that line. In cross country, you're one of your top 7 and your team qualifies. That's a massive deal that an athlete can say, I competed at Homedale at the Meet of Champs. Like, that's huge, and it's awesome, and they should never take that away.
No, you hit it on the head right there because changing the qualifying and having less of the small schools advance to the Meet of Champions, awful. It's awful. Now, I hear the argument of the third place non-public B team, the third place Group 1 team. They can't go to the Meet of Champs and sniff a top 10. That's not the
Doesn't
point.
matter.
Who cares?
What Alex said is
they qualified.
What Alex said to watch those teams celebrate because they're getting up tomorrow morning. And maybe they're going on a long run. They're getting together in a group run, the team. Smaller schools, the bigger schools, they're all grinding these summer miles. And one of their goals is we want to get to the Meet of Champs. We want to qualify for groups. Well, coaches are laying out their goals. And then when that small school, or any school for that matter, gets second or third, back when it was just top 3 automatically went, when you heard you were third in Group 1 or whatever group, it was the biggest. It was like a ticker tape parade. It was like New Year's Eve, and that should never be taken away.
And the Cinderella is a real thing, right? Like maybe you're not beating CBA or some of these top schools, but even these small schools have studs. They have guys and girls that are going to run in the top 15, top 10, that are going to give them a score. And all you need is that pack to run the best races of their lives. And cross country, if your pack runs great races and you're getting those places, it's not, the point system is the most fair system of all time. It's cross country, right?
Yeah.
Your place is your points. And it doesn't matter. There is no arguing, debating, unless you're Dave Hyatt throwing bows in the woods and getting caught. But outside of that, but the bottom line is like, there are these Cinderella stories where you can get your non-public to third team and they just won the greatest race of their lives, and instead of getting last, all of a sudden they're finishing top 15, top 20 at Meet of Champs. And it puts everyone on notice, like, okay, this is awesome. And then you'll see these teams celebrating great positions without winning just because they came and showed up at Meet of Champs. So it's a beautiful thing that people, if you've never been a part of XC, if you've never been a part of the sport, I mean, I've never had a chance to experience Meet of Champions in any of my years running, which sucks.
It's amazing, especially as when you go as.
I could only imagine
when you go as a team.
Yes,
nothing better. Better.
I just could only imagine how great of a feeling it is. So it should not be taken away.
No, it shouldn't be taken away at all. And like you hit it on the head, to be able to say that you ran at the Meet of Champions, even if you were the top runner in your team or the 7th runner who never scored, you get to say that you made it there. That's a big deal.
Mom and Dad buys the T-shirt, damn it, and you have that T-shirt forever.
That's right. And as far as Cinderella too.
One of my favorite shirts it said rock and roll in the bowl from like the 90s. It was awesome.
A few years ago, remember the shirts that I think when Colts had the top CBA T-shirts on.
Well, listen,
because they were CBA has the longest dual meet winning streak in cross country.
Incredible.
In
U.S. history.
In U.S. history, yeah, it's got to be over like 400 now, right?
I think they're coming up on it.
I would love to see.
I actually texted Sean. Sean McCafferty tonight. I didn't get an answer back yet to see what the number was, but it's real close. But a couple years ago, when Jordan Brannon was the top kid, and Russo were the 1-2 punch for Colts Neck, they were the first meet of the year. I think it was Colts Neck, CBA, Manalapan, and a tri meet. And the buzz all summer was that this could be the streak buster here. This is where it could go. And jokingly, the Colts Neck guys got at their summer camp got Stop CBA T-shirts on. Like the Stop Free, T-shirts, and it was all good fun. But yeah,
and I love that CBA sees all comers too when it comes to this. Like they don't only they're pretty good about competing against some of the best, and I like that. And I would love to see. I like to see that where, our streak is legit because we seek out some of the other top teams from last year.
Well,
so,
but right. It's also hard now because the whole dual meet thing is kind of going by the wayside. So.
You know how I feel about dual meets going by the wayside.
I love that they're going away. Too many races.
I think we need more of them.
Yeah, that's a good hot topic. A lot of hot takes there.
Oh yeah.
Hey, getting back to what Alex said to or maybe it was Dave, about Cinderella's.
We can give Dave the credit. I said it, but Dave can have it.
I will take it.
I'm trying to hook him up. Alex said it. Cinderella teams. I mean, it's happened where it's just going to hit me when you said that there was the year that Haddonfield won the Meet of Champions. This is going back a ways when Chris Platt was their top runner.
Like a Platt and Dietz and all those guys.
Yep, and they had one of the top runners was a kid who moved. I think he moved from New Hampshire. Skip Stiles was his name.
Skippy Stiles was awesome. Yeah.
Yes, he was fantastic. Well, he at the Group 2 meet, something happened. He got sick around the tennis courts, whatever. He didn't finish, so they didn't win the race. Homedale actually won that, and Stiles got healthy that week. They came back the next week. They won Meet of Champs. Now, if you change qualifying around where it's just winners, or I don't know if they probably finished second that year, would have made it anyway, but. You could have situations like that where, he sick, he missed the meet, it happens, whatever. That's just like another scenario that could happen. We just can't lose the Meet of Champs no matter what it takes. And there was talk years back about moving it from home. You can't move it out of home.
No,
it doesn't count anymore. It's not the Meet of Champs. There's no other course to take it to.
Listen, it doesn't count. There
was nothing better than being from Tom's River and running in South Jersey and going on there and running flat and then maybe losing your sectional, but knowing that I put in the work and we went to Homedale Park once a week and seeing those same teams from South Jersey come and run on the actual hills and be like, we got you now.
How do you like that?
Yep.
So last thing I want to ask you, because, we can go on all night.
Yeah.
Since you are a New Jersey running encyclopedia, what do we have to look forward to in New Jersey running and cross country this year? Give us some names and people that running fans in Jersey may not know about yet that they should be looking out for.
Well, names they don't know about. There's a freshman coming in this year who has just incredible PRs already. Her name is Paige Shepard. She's going to be a freshman at Union Catholic. And I never like
to put too much. Getting all of them, man. They are rolling.
They're going to come in as they won Meet of Champs last year without their number one runner. She got hurt the week before, and they're probably going to be stronger this year. I think the course record average 18:01 that Voorhees set way back in 2000. I think it's toast. I think it's gone. I think there's no chance that holds up if this Union Catholic team stays healthy and driven the way they are. But Paige Shepard, to just throw out her profile real quick. I mean, she's someone in 8th grade who ran 2:07 and change, 4:48, 10:40. I mean, I don't like to put too much pressure on freshmen coming in.
Sounds like a like Brianna Jokowitz was from.
Yeah.
She was an age group star. I mean, we've seen them before. I mean, Donahue came in as a big age group star. This girl's got the right mentality. She's the whole package. I mean, she's got unlimited potential. And like I said, I don't want to put it out there that she's going to win this, win that, run this, run that. But she's one of the best freshmen coming in that we've ever seen.
But you know what, though? She also probably puts on herself. She's going to Union Catholic. She knows the expectation. So I don't think she's going to be a stranger to having that type of pressure, especially coming off of her middle school career that she did.
I still love our past guest, Emma.
Yep, Emma Zawatsky. Fantastic.
No, Emma's fantastic. But I mean,
amazing girl, too.
Yeah, oh, she's fantastic across the board. Just a great person, a great competitor, and just talk about someone who has a love for the sport and a passion for the sport. Nobody loves it more and puts more into it. And she's just the all-round, all-American kid. Emma Zawadzki. I mean, she comes back as defending champ. I mean, you mentioned names people might not know about, but yeah, Paige Shepard will be the talk. Will be a big buzz around the state all season long, and
good for her. Good.
Yeah, what happens up front? I mean, Emma's defending champ. I mean, she's been having that target on her back for a few seasons now. She got picked off outdoors by Julia Scrutato, who now is going to have a lot of confidence that maybe she can win. Be the queen of Homedale Park, and Peyton Hollis, another Union Catholic runner. I mean, she's got the fastest time coming back at Homedale Park. She was undefeated. She suffered an injury in a non-public A race last year that had shut down her season. But I mean, talk about a 1-2 punch with Hollis and Shepard. And you have the Haddonfield girls. I mean,
always good.
Always good. I mean, Coach Jason Russo does a great job there. I mean, they'll be a factor. The usual suspects up front. I mean, Freehold Township behind Emma is pretty loaded. Northern Highlands comes back as a number 3 team on paper. So there, I mean, and there's going to be some names that we're not even thinking about now. I mean, who was talking about Mackay Lawson last year at this time?
No one.
Who was talking about him? All the guy did was win. All the guy did was win a media champion title in every season.
Yep. Yeah, and he's going to Rutgers, who's doing an amazing job getting these guys. Coach Farrell, Coach Jelly.
Yes, definitely a big shout out to Rutgers. I love seeing Jersey talent going there, and
I love it.
They're building something great there. Rutgers.
We had Coach Farrell on the show, and he flat out said one of their main strategies is keeping top Jersey talent home.
Yeah, of course,
it's the best strategy, honestly.
So
he does that. He's going to win.
Yep. Who do you see on the boys' side as an individual and as a team coming up for XC?
I mean, boys' side, CBA won it all last year. They're the top team coming back again. They bring back a ton of guys. I think they have an average of 16, 17 returning runners.
Not too shabby.
Joe Barrett. Joe Barrett won non-public A last year in 15:43 as a sophomore.
Yep.
He'll be up at the front. Volkowski, Clifford, Kemp, Mastroli. I mean, they're loaded, and of course depth. I mean, the next 5 guys could be almost anyone else, any other team's 5. It's going to be another battle of the non-public A teams. I mean, Union Catholic's the next best team on paper.
Yep.
Jimmy is hopefully he's coming back and he's healthy.
I mean, Jimmy was choosing. Obviously, we got to talk about Jimmy. I mean, there's a guy who's had some setbacks with injuries. Always comes back strong though. He had that injury at the middle of cross country season last year after going 15-22 at short coaches and winning an epic battle with Bowler from Del Barton.
Yep.
Unfortunately, he suffered an injury, and as you know, came back, won a meet of champs indoors in the 3200. He's obviously the favorite on paper. Sky's the limit for Jim. I mean, 15-22 last year at short coaches. I mean, he's a guy that, if all things are clicking, he can be that guy that comes makes a run at 15. If he gets pushed and he's healthy and he's fit. I mean, you can't put a limit on what Washousen can do. And they have a good supporting cast behind them: Alex Saldana, Evan Weber, Sean Wilson, Alessandro Alvarez, the Divine brothers. I mean, they're loaded. They're loaded as well. And Westfield. I mean, the battle just to be the best team in Union County.
We love Coach Tefelsky. Love him.
Tefelsky's.
Yep.
I mean, he took over for Jack Martin years ago.
Yes.
Big shoes to fill. And
he was my college roommate. Him and Wilfredo Rivero.
Oh, is that right?
College roommates. Yeah.
Oh man, there's some wild nights in that dorm.
We had fun.
It's a family-friendly podcast. No, I'm kidding. It is. We talk.
But I mean, Westfield, Avery Keith is back. I mean, they're loaded. I mean, they're stacked. Yeah. Summit, they're the next best team on paper. But like I said, there's going to be a team. There's going to be runners that we're not.
There is every year.
Yeah, it happened all the time. I mean, you got Shoot from Woodbury. I mean, Barrett, Kunkel from Cherokee. Was I'm trying to think of some other guys that got under 16-20. Avery Keith. There's only 4 guys coming back who broke 16. But by the end of November, there's going to be
20 of them.
20 guys probably. Yeah,
definitely.
Kyvelis from Alpin's another guy. Avery Keith that I mentioned, Kunkel, Saldana. Yeah, so I mean, like I said, every year guys graduate and you say, oh my gosh, I mean, how are we going to top this? And then somehow, some way, New Jersey always finds a way to produce nationally ranked teams, runners who wind up in San Diego running at nationals. It's just it's a given every year that Jersey's going to just make their presence felt on a national level, and just can't wait to see the new names, the new faces, fast times. I mean, every season it happens, and there's nothing better.
And the thing is, every single one of those individuals, males and females you mentioned, is all hoping to run fast so they can get a video, an interview, and a write-up with our guest today, Jim Lambert. Jim, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, my pleasure. We'll get that Lambo cast going and get everybody on it.
I would love it. Hey, we got to be a guest on Lambo Cast. We want
you guys have to be
if we get it going. I would love that.
Hey, like I said earlier, thanks so much for having me, guys. I mean, what you guys do, it's so great for the sport. I guess you guys are having. It's amazing. I mean, you guys are taking off, and we'll do this again anytime you want. Because as you can tell, I can talk a lot.
We will.
I'm sorry to anybody who thought maybe some of the top moments. Olivia Baker's 2:02 and relays. I'm like, my gosh, Ruben McCoy's triple, the Meet of Champs in 04. I love all you guys out there. And,
Jim, they all know it. You are the most.
They all adore you.
Genuine, wonderful man who just loves the sport, and you do so much for every athlete that has ever competed in our state. And it's an honor to have you on. It's an honor to just know that you are as real of a person as comes across with your writing and with everything that you do. Thank you so much.
Yep, my pleasure. Anytime, guys. Everybody out there, get your PRs on, get your NJXC on. Go get it, everybody. We'll see you guys at the finish line. Gotta love it.
Once again, he's Jim Lambert, absolute legendary New Jersey track and field cross country reporter. He's covering it for New Jersey MileSplit right now. So go visit NJ MileSplit, see all of his coverage, support him. Go find him on Twitter. He's an amazing Twitter follow if you like New Jersey track and field cross country. He's at Lambo2126. So go give him a follow. Right now he's under 5,000 followers. Can we fix that, please? Can we get get a notoriety? What is this?
I've been stuck for a while there. It's too many people that don't like the Dolphins that they'll stop following me. So, don't worry. I get some new content up there for Press 5K. I think a big appearance here on Talking in Ovals is going to jack that up. How could it not?
We hope so. We hope so. We hope to get you more followers. But again, Jim, we appreciate you coming on. Hyatt, it's always fun. If anyone liked what you heard, please, again, give us a like, share, follow, subscribe, 5-star rating on Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Go find us on the socials. And just remember, it's not Twitter anymore. It's X. So go find us on X.
X as in XC.
As in XC. That's what I'm talking about. So
yeah, Talking in Ovals, the place to be, everybody. Tune in every week. This is the spot.
Love it.
All right, get your Talking in Ovals on, baby, all year, every day, all day, whenever.
Love it. We need you. You know what? We might make you our hype man in the beginning instead of music. We're just going to have you yelling that. That's going to be like our intro. But,
yep. Yeah. I specialize in yelling.
So again, everyone, thank you so much for listening. We will be back next week. So long, all.